Hello YouTube and welcome to a very delayed episode of Geek Tweaks. I'm Dustin. Today we're going to be taking a look at a very new-ish and very unique cell phone service provider that's pretty new in the game. This provider is Google. The name of the service itself is Project Fi. If you haven't heard of this, this is definitely a good place to start. I'm going to give you all the information that you're going to need. I'll try to answer all the questions that you might have about it. And then there's going to be a lot of other, literature and things like that you can go and read for yourself, or even check out Google's site on this matter. For me, the reason that I did this was, I'm just going to start off by my personal experience really quick, and that's that I was using Sprint service at $100 a month for one smartphone, which is pretty absurd. A lot of you guys are probably paying that same thing if you have family plans, maybe with multiple phones or tablets or things like that. You're probably looking at a lot more money, even going that route, obviously. So the number one thing was money for me. That's kind of the thing that made me take the plunge and go ahead and give this thing a shot. And I must say, just very briefly and vaguely, that I'm pretty happy with it. So if that's the only takeaway you want, there it is. But next, I'm going to go ahead, before I conclude this whole review here, is I'm going to tell you how their service works, kind of what it is and what makes it different. The number one thing is, it is a smartphone plan. It works only right now officially with 3 phones. Those are Google devices, of course. The first one is the Nexus 6, which is made by Motorola. Very big, very ugly, and overrated phone. I don't care for it at all myself. And then the next 2 are the newer Nexus phones. First one, the Nexus 6P by Huawei, and the second one is the LG Nexus 5X. So those are going to be your 2 options. There's a pretty big price difference if you were to go to the Google Project Fi site and look at those 2 options. There's a pretty big price gap, the 6P being the more expensive, but overall there's not a whole lot of differences other than the fact that the 6P is a little bit bigger, has a slightly faster processor, but you're not gonna have a problem with the 5X if that's what you're considering. So the way their service actually works, though, is that with your smartphone plan, you're required, of course, to have not unlimited, but you're required, of course, to have some kind of talk and some kind of a text plan. The way Google answers that question is with unlimited talk and unlimited text for $20 a month. That's kind of your base plan right there. That's what you can expect to pay every month and isn't going to vary. The next part of it, of course, with the smartphone is going to be your data plan. So right now, unfortunately, they don't have any official unlimited plans. But basically, the simplest way to explain it is that it's $10 per gig, pretty much as far as you can see. So $20 for your talk and text. If you wanted 1 gig of data, you're looking at 10 extra, so that puts you at 30. If you wanted 2 gigs of data, that's 20 and 20, so that's 40, and it just goes up 10 per gig. The nice thing about that, however, if you are unsure how much data you're using or how much you're going to end up using, is that you actually end up paying what you use through this particular service, which is tremendous. I mean, it's absolutely the best thing that I have ever experienced from a cell phone provider. And the way that works is, say you get the 3 gigabyte data plan and you use 1.5 gigs of data, Google will actually pay you all of that $10 back for the gig that you didn't use, and then roughly about $5 for the half of gig that you didn't use out of that other one. So you get $15 credited to your next bill, and if you're looking at a $40 a month bill, 15 off of that is 25. That's pretty good. So I have a friend that has been using Project Fi for about 6 or 7 months now, and I had heard that he had it, so I got a hold of him before I went ahead and pulled the trigger on this whole thing, and he has been very happy with it. His average bill, I think, is about $28 to $30 a month, so that's pretty tremendous. If you are like most people and you have Wi-Fi at your house and or at work, data is something you're not going to be using a lot of, as long as you're mindful about where you're at and how much data you're using and whether or not you're on Wi-Fi. Another thing that Google has done to answer that, or to rebuttal that issue with Wi-Fi, is that if you are out in public and you're driving, or you're at the mall or the hospital or anywhere, and they have a public Wi-Fi connection that is unencrypted and open to the public, you can actually set your phone, the Nexus 5X or the 6P, to automatically connect to that Wi-Fi. And like a lot of people, if you're up on these things, you're going to be concerned about the security of that. And with these two particular phones, they actually have special encryptions built into them that actually basically ultra protect or ultra secure that connection. So when you connect to an open Wi-Fi network, and it'll do that automatically, mine has done it countless times, and it's just free data right there. And it'll show you a special little logo up at the top that has a little key next to it, so you know that you are, on an open Wi-Fi network, but your phone is also secure. So that's nice, and there's really no better company than Google to trust with something like that. So that's really nice. With my experiences so far, there are some pros and there are some cons, mostly pros. So number one thing is, like I said, this is saving me. I ended up on the 2 gigabyte data plan. I have had it for about 2 months, and I have averaged with Wi-Fi at home and Wi-Fi at work, and then the luxury of open Wi-Fi when I'm traveling, going around town or going into the mall or wherever. With my phone automatically connecting to those other Wi-Fi networks, I really don't have to worry about the data. So I have averaged, over the past 2 months, I have used a little bit less than a gig. So that's pretty good. Google did credit me back the money that I was basically paying for the extra gig. So really it doesn't matter what data plan you go on, because no matter what, they're going to credit you back whatever you don't use. So it really doesn't matter. If you go over, there's no overage charge. That's something I forgot to mention. If you have a gig of data and you go over a gig, it just puts that extra 10 on and gives you 2 gigs, and so on and so forth. So you don't have to be too concerned about some big outrageous bill from overages or anything like that. You really pay for what you use. For me, I did end up going with the Nexus 5X. That's LG's new Nexus phone, new-ish. It came out the end of 2015, so it's nearly a year old now. I am not going to talk in depth about this particular phone right now. I'm going to do another video here shortly in regards to this phone and a review on this. So this is just the one I went with for the price thing mainly. I did have a cancellation fee with Sprint, so I didn't want to pay, I want to say it's $500 for the Nexus 6P if you buy it outright going that route, and only $200 for the Nexus 5X. And the differences are so subtle and so minor that I just couldn't see spending the extra $300 for a phone that's not, it's only marginally better. It's not significant. So with my pros and cons on this though, on Project Fi, the number one thing I'll say is that the service has been great. They run off of 3 main towers, and that is going to be Sprint, T-Mobile, and US Cellular. If you hear those 3 names and you have, some bad memories or anything about those, just know that cell phone providers and cell phone towers and networks are something that are ever growing. In some cases, some companies, they kind of stick where they're at and don't make a lot of developments. Sprint, as my number one example, is actually one, I worked for Sprint for a number of years, and they are one, a few years ago, 3 or 4 years ago now, they were actually bought by a company called, I can't even think of it now, SoftBank? I want to say SoftBank. Sorry, I should have remembered that, but they were bought by another company in Japan, and that company has actually poured a lot of money into their network. It is significantly better than it has ever been. And while I was using Sprint for almost 2.5 years as my everyday cell phone, I really didn't have a lot of issues. I had LTE most places that I went, and I was able to make calls and get texts out, receive calls and all that. Didn't drop many calls, so they are a lot better than they ever have been. T-Mobile and US Cellular, I haven't had personal experience with them, but they are two that are kind of in the middle of the pack. They're not, not top of the line or anything like that. And Sprint may not be either, but it is a lot better than it ever has been. So that's good news. But the way that those 3 towers work is the phone through Project Fi and the 2 newest ones, the 5X and 6P, support an auto switch feature, which is where wherever you're at, if your connection seems weak, the phone will automatically search for better towers, either through T-Mobile or US Cellular if you are on the Sprint network at that time, and it will connect you to whatever is the strongest. And it does that pretty often. You don't even know that it's doing it, but I have to imagine that it does it pretty often, depending on how much you travel. But as I was saying, the con to that is that there have been a couple of times, it seems, that I'll get, for some reason, transferred to one of those other networks when it's stronger, and then I'll travel, however far. Usually it's T-Mobile that it puts me on, and then I have the biggest issue with that. But and then I'll travel, and it'll say I don't really have very good service, so then I'll have to wait a minute for it to switch over or something like that. That has been the only problem I have personally had with Project Fi, so I'm just being real with you on that. That's something you might expect, but it's not. It's really not a huge deal. It's only a matter of minutes before it switches over and you get your LTE back. A solution that I have found for that is this little app right here called Fi Switch, and it is a premium app on the App Store, on the Google Play Store for $1.99. It's a fair price to pay if you're concerned about what I just mentioned. But it'll actually tell you what service you're connected to. Right now I'm T-Mobile, and you can actually do, you can re-enable auto switch if you've chosen any of these other options, but you can do next carrier and cycle through, or you can do US Cellular, T-Mobile, or Sprint and make it just manually switch it to one of those towers. So that's really nice, and I have used it a couple of times. It's not something that you're going to find yourself doing all the time, unless you find yourself in a situation where you don't have service and you just want to check one of the other ones out. So overall, for, like I said, for the money, that was the big thing. Sprint being $100 a month, this dropping me down to about $30 to $35 a month, 40, 42 at the most is pretty impressive. I mean, that's saving me $60+ a month, and that's a big deal. If you're like me and you're kind of at the middle of the pack as far as data usage, I was only averaging about 3 to 5 gigs a month. Like I said, I kind of weighed what I could do differently to maybe conserve a little bit of that with a limited plan now. Connecting to Wi-Fi at home and Wi-Fi at work has made a big difference on that, and my usage has dropped dramatically, as you would expect it to. So, like I said, I'm probably going to jump into a review on this LG Nexus 5X here pretty quick. It should be up today as well, like this video is. So keep an eye out for that, guys. As always, I appreciate it. I apologize for not, doing a video in a while. Anybody that subscribed to me or anybody that has viewed or liked or commented on my videos, I absolutely appreciate that. It's a big help and, a big momentum and motivation booster for me. So I appreciate that, guys. If you have any suggestions for videos, please let me know. Anything you'd like to see within reason, I'll look into that and I'll see what I can do and any information I can come up with. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks a bunch and have a good one.